oh, well, they got that job and I was in the running for that job and I didn't get that job. It's like, dude, how many other friggin' opportunities are there that you're not even paying attention to? You're focusing on the one that you didn't get.
Make sure that you're investing in yourself before you invest in things. Because like I said, there's nothing more valuable than this. And this needs to continue to be fed and be stimulated and be inspired.
Life is so much more enjoyable, and this work and this job is so much more enjoyable if you can see it from the perspective of there is endless opportunity. On this episode of the podcast, we are talking about the art of the interview. If you, in your video production business, are doing interviews with clients, this episode is for you. I got you. We also talk about how storytelling is a powerful business tool. And lastly, we talk about how stinking awesome our mastermind group is. So buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. What is up, my friend? Welcome to another edition of the Grow Your Video Business Show. Grow Your Video Business Show. I am Ryan Corl, your host, and it is a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for joining me. This show, why can't I do that? This show is for you if you are a filmmaker and you want to do this work, you want to be able to charge what you're worth and do this work for a long time. That is why we have almost 400 episodes of this show. I've been doing or running my own video production business for 20 years, and I want to share the wisdom that I have, and the wisdom comes from lots of mistakes and the amazing people that I know, and the books that I've read, and the courses that I've taken, and the workshops that I've gone to. That's what I'm bringing to you, 20 plus years of experience. I'm also a dad and a husband. I've been married for a little over 20 years, 21 years, yeah, coming on 22. And I try to show up for my family, for my kids, for my wife, while also trying to grow and maintain employees at our production company. And I wanna do good things in the world. So I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting this show. And I'm excited for this episode. Pat Taggart is a member of our mastermind, and we just were on a retreat with our mastermind group. And so you're gonna hear us blab on about that. But really, my hope is in doing this that it doesn't create a ton of FOMO, maybe a little bit of FOMO for you, where you feel like, maybe I should be in a mastermind, because I have experienced so much growth and fulfillment in being a part of a mastermind, actually multiple masterminds at the same time. I run mastermind groups, and I'm also in a mastermind group. And the mastermind group that I'm in this week, they're actually all coming to our studio for the next 2 days. And my friend Mike Kim runs this mastermind group, but they're coming to our studio. We've got some people that are staying after the sessions that are gonna be recording content at our studio. We're hanging out, doing dinner, and I think I'm gonna have people over to play pickleball, why not? But these people are my people, and to be in a smaller group and to have access to people in that kind of way has been transformational. So if you don't have something like that, consider it. One of the calls to action, I think, from this episode is to consider the Studio Sherpas Mastermind, the group that I lead, that I facilitate. And I'm launching another group. And so if you have thought about being in a mastermind and you've been intimidated by whatever thing, the cost or not knowing me personally, I want to encourage you to consider it. And the first step, or the next step that you could take, is to go to the webpage where I share about the mastermind. And that page is located at studiosherpas.com/mastermind. So we'd love for you to check that out and apply if you feel like, yeah, maybe this could be a good fit. You're not committing to anything, and we want to help you. I want to help you. And if it's a good fit, then let's do this. And if it's not, no sweat. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. Let's get into this super fun episode with Pat. Before my power went out in the middle of our recording, maybe with the power of editing, you're not gonna see that or know that, but holy cow, I was in the middle of this interview and then all of a sudden, every light in my computer and all the things just, that's what happens when the power goes out. I don't know if you know this, but it was really crazy. And then we spent about 5 minutes trying to figure out, then the file was corrupted, but we recovered it. And oh my goodness, I'm gonna put a link in this episode for the app that I use to recover the video files, because it saved the day and it cost me like 40 bucks. And I was glad to use that. And I will promote it. I just wish I had that information in front of my face right now. I don't. Okay, now actually let's get into this episode. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today with me is Pat Taggart, who is the founder and chief creative at Sky Blue Creative and owner of Tag Visual. Pat, welcome to the show, man.
Ryan, thank you for having me, man.
I think the last time I saw you in person was also the first time, but the last time, I think my team was beating your team in pickleball.
Yeah, they were. And I want to point out that was kind of the first weekend I played pickleball. So I need that for my own ego. But since I've got home, I'm like searching for places to play. It's fun. Like I never played tennis. I've been an ice hockey player my whole life, but I could see myself playing pickleball a whole lot more now. And hopefully next time I see you, we get some revenge.
That is amazing. Pat and I just spent a long weekend together with the rest of the people in our mastermind in Naples, Florida. And it was an incredible experience. I just learned this morning that Naples is it's like the world capital of pickleball or something like that. I think like the world headquarters of pickleball, whatever, is in Naples. So big surprise that there was a pickleball court at the house that we rented.
Yes, we got lucky there. And it's wild because before I came to the house, my cousin picked me up and I was like, I thought I was going to spend a day with them, check out their house. We're like, no, we're going to the pickleball courts. And dude, it's hardcore. Like we played for like 3 or 4 hours and I'm not young, but I'm 44. I was just getting smoked, totally worked by like 70, 80-year-old people. And so by the time you guys saw me, I was pretty defeated emotionally.
Oh, see what he's doing there, you guys. He's trying to make excuses as to why my team just smoked him.
I need it. I'm grasping for straws.
That's right. So, Pat, you've been in the mastermind since the beginning of this year. Tell us a little bit about your business. How did you get started, and how do you spend your time today in the business?
Yeah, so time today is spent almost entirely helping companies and nonprofits as well, so for-profit and nonprofit, tell stories. And I am allergic to scripts and choreographed handshakes and everything that makes corporate video really cringy. And so, the dream for me was always to be a sportscaster. It was kind of ESPN or bust. And I got out of school and I got a job as a reporter on a local high school sports show. So not glamorous, but it was a first step. And that lasted all of 4 months. And then I got a call one day. It said, hey, show's canceled. Best of luck. Because it was local, And then I had to ask myself as a 22-year-old 2 really important questions, Ryan. It was number 1, are you willing to move around to small markets and try to work your way up to an area where you'd ultimately consider a success? And number 2, are you naturally good enough? Like, do I have enough ease on camera to get there? And for what I lacked in talent, I think I had in self-awareness, and the answers were no and no. So I'm like, okay, I went to school for 4 years with one singular focus. And now I'm 22 and I'm unemployed. And what am I going to do with my life? But I would be out on these shoots and I'd actually have more interest messing around with my cameraman's camera than I would doing my stories. And so I wanted to buy the same stuff he had. I had $5,000 in the bank from all of my 4 summers of college collectively working, and I was living with my parents. And I said, hey, I want to spend my $5,000 on this stuff. And parents, always supportive, said, okay, great. What are you going to do with it? And my cameraman on the side did wedding videos. And I was like, I'm going to do wedding videos. They're like, great, good luck with that. And I just heard of somebody getting married, and I was like, hey, I'll do your wedding for $700. And they were like, yeah, okay, great. And so I went to this dude and I said, hey, listen, my cameraman from those stories, I was like, hey, if I give you $700, will you just kind of shadow me and teach me how to do weddings? And he said yes. And so it was a very slow build, not very intentional build. I basically created a job for myself before I got smart, which wasn't all that long ago. And now 22 years later, we still have that business tag visual. I do next to no creative work there. I just support a really wonderful team of people because my real passion is working with companies and organizations. I just launched Sky Blue Creative because I wanted to separate it from tag visual just before the new year. And that's when I decided to join Mastermind. And man, it's been an unbelievable experience. I could have spent the next 10 or 15 years banging my head against the wall trying to learn some things that I've picked up from people in the group, in 10 seconds. And people have been so incredibly willing to share. And so it's really, I think it's a credit to you, the type of people that you attract. But like this group of people, like I trust these folks. I could call anybody right now and just say, hey, I'm having a problem either professionally or I'm stuck creatively, or like, hey, personal life, like here's what's going on. And it's wild that we have that kind of trust in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, my guess is that, having been in the mastermind, had you ever been in a mastermind prior to the Studio Sherpas one with us?
Never. No.
Yeah. So your point, like, we meet twice a month and, usually two people are on the hot seat and there's always learnings and there's always takeaways from me, as a facilitator of the group, but then also, I would say all of the members. And then you do something like the retreat where we're together, for 3.5 days or whatever it was. And the virtual meetings, I don't want to speak for you, but the virtual meetings, they're great. They're super helpful. You walk away with a lot of stuff, but then it's incredible to look at, like, you just cram a few days in a row together with these people and the amount of work and ideas and the flow, it's just like, wow. So hopefully you're walking away realizing, seeing like all of the things that I've been talking about, why I think masterminds have been so valuable in my own personal growth and for my business. Hopefully you're experiencing that now.
No question. And I mentioned this to you while we were there. I was like, hey, we never talked about gear. Like I couldn't tell you what cameras anybody uses aside from you because I asked you directly. It's not even about that. It's about all the things that you need to be successful as an entrepreneur. And sometimes you just need a therapy group, right? Sometimes you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, we're trying to attract great new customers and I think we're doing great work, but like no one's calling. And so it's all of that stuff. And yeah, you can talk to family or friends, but they don't get it if they're not in the same. They can be supportive, but they don't get it. And so that's why it's been so valuable, is because everybody you're talking to, especially because it's an industry specific mastermind, they get it. Like they understand the industry. And so there's a different level of empathy for sure.
What about, I think that one of the biggest pushbacks outside of, what is the cost and what is the time commitments? What about the, industry specific, meaning these are all video business owners. So technically, we're in some cases competing for the same business. What made you think or decide like, you don't care about that enough to be able to join the group?
Well, that's such a scarcity mindset, first of all. Like there are so many companies that need help out there. There's not even enough of us to help them all. And for me, I'm not looking for 1,000 customers a year. I love to do 2 or 3 great projects a month that light me up and light my team up and that we can really dig in on. And so I think you're not going to get anywhere in life if you feel like everyone's out to get you. If everybody can do the type of work that you do, then you're probably not doing great work in the first place, right? We're all, even if we, my focus among the group is probably about as broad as possible. Some people have like very specific niches. Mine's pretty broad. I'm very much industry agnostic. I help both for-profit and nonprofit. The only real stipulation for me is that they don't want to do traditional corporate video and they're willing to trust me and go along this unscripted process. But certainly an abundance mindset for me is if you don't have that, Mastermind's probably a great fit for you. And then Ryan, one more note on price. I actually think Mastermind's free. And yeah, there's a fee that comes along with it, but we were joking this weekend. Someone just said in passing on one of the calls, I use this product called NeoFinder. And NeoFinder, I plug all my drives in and NeoFinder tells me what's on all my drives. So if I'm looking on something, I can look that up. dude, I have spent, I don't know, 1,000 hours searching through drives over the years. Like if I pay myself $1 an hour, it would have paid for itself. So like, that's how you have to look at it. It's not a sunk cost. It's an investment. And I've already made it back if I never went to another meeting and paid for mastermind for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that is. I mean, now we're all joking about NeoFinder. So if you're listening and you're also a person that has a bunch of hard drives, look up NeoFinder. It is. I mean, it's a way to be able to search all of your drives and find all the things. But somebody brought that up a few weeks ago in our mastermind, and I'm like, oh yeah, we use NeoFinder, but just you don't know what you don't know, and you don't realize that.
Right.
Not nobody. There are plenty of people that don't use a tool like that. And so for us, we shared that one mastermind call. We all shared our favorite resource, and somebody said NeoFinder. And I'm like, oh yeah, we use NeoFinder. And people are like, what is NeoFinder? And it's like the hundreds or the thousands of hours that were saved just from that one meeting alone, to your point. And that's the point. It's like, how can we help each other be more efficient to, gain confidence in areas that we don't have confidence? I love that you're speaking about, having an abundant mindset versus scarcity. Even breaking it down to say, how many jobs do you actually need? How many clients do you actually need in order to, build the kind of business and have the lifestyle that you want? I don't think a lot of us spend the time thinking about that. And so if we don't think about that, then we can think like, oh, well, they got that job and I was in the running for that job and I didn't get that job. It's like, dude, how many other friggin' opportunities are there that you're not even paying attention to? You're focusing on the one that you didn't get. Oh my goodness, like drive down your downtown area or the suburb area and just go to an area where there's like warehouses and building and count how many businesses there are. Guess what? Mm-hmm. They all need to improve their sales, their marketing, their culture, their hiring. They all need help in those areas, some more than others, but they all need video to some extent. So like, let's stop getting hung up in the stuff that we don't get and realize like, how many jobs, how much money do you actually need to make at the end of the month? I mean, this whole episode could be about that. And my hope was, sure, apply to be in the mastermind, join the mastermind. It will be helpful to you. But if nothing else, if you don't take away anything else as you are in the world of running a video business, there is so much opportunity out there. You just have to look for it and you have to be open to it. And life is so much more enjoyable, and this work and this job is so much more enjoyable if you can see it from the perspective of there is endless opportunity. So for us all to come together we have, I think, 11 people in the mastermind. And to know, even, I mentioned Small Giants. I'm like, hey, Small Giants? And you're like, oh yeah, do you know Paul? I'm like, yeah, I know Paul. And they've hired us for work. And you're talking about some project. I didn't even think until this conversation, like maybe there's a job that Paul got that we didn't get, but I'm not gonna spend any energy. The only energy I would want to spend there is thinking like, I wonder why we didn't get it. And if there's something that we could do better next time to get it. But outside of that, holy cow, we've had 100 jobs since the last time that Small Giants hired us for something. And I don't have time to think about or be frustrated by not getting a job. If anything, I want to just learn what can I do better next time and how can I grow and learn and who else is out there that might be, a good fit client. Okay. I'm getting off the pedestal. Good stuff.
And the other part of that too, Ryan, is that like, I want everybody to get work because it's also a proof of concept for our industry. So like our mastermind group, I know they all do great work. I want them to work a whole lot. I want the other people in my market that I directly compete with to work a whole lot, because the more companies that use video, the more companies are going to want video and the more opportunity for all of us.
Yeah. That's super good. Let's just put a little bow on this mastermind conversation. For somebody that might be hesitant, because this was something that came up in the conversation when I was asking you guys, like, man, I would love to start another mastermind group, but it's like, is there anybody else that wants to do this? And you guys were super encouraging and gave me a lot of great feedback and input. But one thing that I was surprised by was the hesitation that people had in applying for the mastermind. So for somebody that's thinking like, it's probably way too expensive, or, they're intimidated by me for whatever reason. I don't feel like I'm one of the most at least intimidating people in the world. How would you encourage or help somebody to at least consider the mastermind opportunity?
Yeah, I think that very few of us hesitate to want to buy the newest piece of gear that comes out. We're constantly investing in stuff for our business, and very rarely do we invest in ourselves. And the most valuable piece of equipment that you have is up here. And if you don't invest in that, then man, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And again, like I really, really love these people in this group, and I trust them. And I told you this, Ryan, and it was a compliment to you. I've learned more from the people in my group than I've learned from you. And I've learned a lot from you so far throughout the course of this mastermind. And so for anybody thinking, what's the old thing? Like, why pay for the cow when I get the milk for free? Like, hey, I can listen to Ryan's podcast. Like, Ryan has so much stuff out there. I can learn from Ryan. Yeah, it's not really about that. Of course, you're going to have access to Ryan. You're going to learn from Ryan, but he's curated this group, and you're going to get to spend this time with these incredible people that have these different perspectives. And that's really where the value is.
Yeah. I could not have said that better myself. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. I didn't mean for this to be a mastermind commercial, but hopefully, regardless, there are other masterminds out there, not the only ones that I lead. And I'm in a mastermind outside of the one that, I pay to be in a mastermind, because I know the value that it brings. And so it just makes sense for me to say, I'm going to offer this to this community, because I think that for the right people, it's going to change their business. So thank you for all that. You mentioned something about, you used the phrase when you were starting in video that you had built yourself a job. And I wrote that out because I want you to unpack that, because I think there's a lot of people that are in that and don't know if there's a difference or that means. Explain that to us.
Well, I didn't build a business. I built a job. And the reason is because at every single aspect of the work, from the time an email or phone call came in to the time the product was delivered, fell on me. I was a one-man show, and that's not a business. You really can't have a one-person business. You can have a job. You can have an LLC that's a one-person job, but you really can't have a business. And about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, I have a friend that really challenged me on that. He's like, you don't have a business, man. And I got really offended. And I shouldn't have, because he was doing me a favor. And it's come up multiple times. I've had multiple people say it to me. And then finally, I said, okay, I need to start trusting people. Let's see if someone can shoot video like me. And let's see if someone can edit like me. And they couldn't. They couldn't shoot or edit like me. They could do it better than I could. And so what I really needed to do was give guidance. Now, I love to be on set doing the work that I do today with companies. I dreaded going to weddings. And so that there's other people who that lights them up. That's what they love to do. I have a guy that had a studio that did weddings, and he's like, hey, I don't want to talk to couples anymore beforehand. I don't want to book weddings. I don't want to edit. I just want to shoot. That's what I love. I was like, man, we are totally aligned. You can come shoot all the weddings you want. Today, the thing with my business, that I do with the stories that we tell for companies, I am the person that stands across from whoever I'm interviewing. And my entire job is not to create a story or ask the most hard-hitting question I can, because the story already exists. And in my opinion, that is the key and the secret to everything, is that the story already exists. And the more people in pre-production that try to craft a story, you are doing that company a disservice. The story is there. My job is to make the people that have created the story and continue to create the story every day comfortable enough to tell that story in a way that feels really genuine. And so, for me, it's all nonverbals most of the time, right? If people aren't smiling, I'll smile back at you until you think I'm completely crazy, because you have to smile at someone that's smiling at you after a while, right? If their tone of voice is too low, I'm going to lift my tone. If it's a more emotional moment, I'm going to slow my cadence down and probably drop the volume of my voice a little bit, but it's all nonverbals for me. That's the work that really lights me up. And now I love going to work. That wasn't always the case, right? And so I just needed to find, okay, what lights me up, the stuff that doesn't light me up. Let me find people for whom that work does light up. And now I have a company. I don't just have a job that I've created for myself anymore.
The art of the interview. I love those subtle nuances that do make a world of difference when you are interviewing somebody. It sounds like for the wedding brand, you have built like a business because you're not doing all of the things. So in your corporate brand, how is that structure? Only because you said like, oh yeah, like I'm the one, doing the interviews and stuff. How is that not a job? How is that one designed as a business?
Well, I have people that are specialists, right? And so I work with a tremendous DP for whom I don't want to shoot anything without. And he doesn't want to edit anything ever. And he never asks the question, but man, when I get to work with him, the stuff looks 100 times better. I know how to turn lights on, right? I know generally how to place lights. It just looks different, right? It looks different. It feels different. People look better. And it's such like an unconscious thing for a viewer. They're not thinking about lighting a whole lot, but they can feel it, right? Yeah. Like they can feel it. And so getting a chance to work with somebody like that, I just kind of put pieces in place of people that are experts. I love working with experts. Yeah. I love working with people who are super passionate about their singular thing. And now we just have a flow, and man, it's easy. And I am still the person that answers the phone when somebody calls because I actually enjoy that part. Yeah. It's a little bit different than the wedding side. I don't really have to do that on the wedding side. It's a little bit more formulaic. I feel like on the business side, it's a little bit more structured, and I'd love to learn a little bit more from you about kind of how you've put together a general price list for certain things or ranges, because we don't do a very good job of that now. One of the many things that we need to get better at. But I'm still in that role, and I still love to edit as well. But there are people that can do initial cut downs for me of things that'll save me so much time. I really shouldn't be spending my time doing that. And so I'm learning. We got the wedding side exactly where we need to be. We're at like 100 and whatever weddings a year, and I don't do any of the creative work. I need to work some of those efficiencies into the business video side for sure. Hence mastermind.
Yeah, I love that. And you used two phrases there that I think are worth pointing out. I get to do this versus I have to do this.
Oh yeah.
And when we start our business, when we become official or unofficial, when we're doing this work, at least when we start, we have to do everything, or else like who's going to do it? And to even think like one day that you could delegate parts of your work, that seems so dreamy. And I will just mention that if you can envision one day like not having to do all of the things, you just have to create some goals and have some dreams, and then start thinking through like, what if there was one thing in all of this work that I don't like doing that drains the life out of me? Write that down, and maybe at some point write down what's the process to do that job. More than likely, there's somebody out there, not more than likely, there certainly is somebody out there that would love to do that one job. I remember when I was early on, I thought in order to get help in my business that I would have to bring on a business partner. I thought that was like one of the only options, or I had to find somebody that would be full-time. And both of those were not, I couldn't afford somebody full-time, and I wasn't ready to like give up half of my business to somebody else. So realizing at some point, oh, there are people out there that like part-time, and there are people out there that like super part-time. So it's not out of reach, and it won't cost money. I mean, it will cost money, but if you're freed up and able to do other things that drive revenue in your business that you like doing more, that bring you more life and joy, man, if you're able to do those things, the $10 or $20 or $30 an hour that you pay somebody else, you're going to more than make up for that on the back end.
Yeah, you have to, at some point, you have to take a leap of faith and trust somebody and ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Right? Like,
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, what's the very worst that can happen? And most of the time, when you look at it, you're like, oh, all right, yeah, I'm still going to be alive. My house isn't going to fall down. Like, we'll just course correct, and I'll look for somebody different, and I'll do it in the meantime, which you've been doing all along anyway. So,
Yeah, that's a really good. That makes me think of, I took my family to Cancun a few weeks ago, and I was talking to another guy in the other mastermind that I'm in. His name is Vince, and he's like, "Are you actually going on vacation, or are you gonna, are you doing work?" And I was like, "Well, we're in transition. I'm hiring a new operations person. I have a new assistant who's still trying to get caught up on the things. So, I kind of feel like I have to at least check in on my email and get a pulse of what's going on." And he's like, "Well, what's the worst that could happen?" And I'm like, "Well, we could get a new opportunity that comes in, and I'm not able to respond to him. And, and he's like, "Is that the worst that could happen?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, like we don't get the job. Or like, I don't know, if something happens, maybe our bank account bounces." He's like, "Okay, well, have you ever had a bank account bounce before?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, I don't want it to bounce." And he's like, "Okay, but like, what's the worst that could happen?" So I think that is such a wise question, Pat, to ask yourself. It's what is the worst that can happen in all of the things? So consider that. I want to, before we end here, I want to have you just share about your strategy for getting reviews. I know you have a specific way of doing that, and I think that could be a useful piece of the wisdom for people, as reviews can really help, right? Social proof, that can help somebody who's on the fence as to whether or not they hire us or the video company down the street.
yeah, there's still so many things that we're not good at, or we're a work in progress, I like to say. But I think we've been really good, especially on the wedding side, and now kind of rolling that strategy over to the business side, to Sky Blue Creative, and getting reviews. And my general philosophy is this: we are in the relationship business. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what job you do, you're in the relationship business. But specifically for what we do, it is emotional work, meaning that the people that we're typically doing work for, we're creating for their business. That is emotional for them. A lot of times we're working for founders or for people that have been there when it wasn't what it is, and now they've helped build it up to what it is, and they feel such an attachment to it. So when we're able to create content that really brings that story to life, makes them feel proud, and then afterwards to send like an automated review solicitation, you're selling yourself so short. How do you feel when you just get an automated solicitation? "Hey, review this business." You don't feel compelled to do it because you think it's a robot.
Right.
What we've always done is, with the mindset that it's more about quality than quantity, after we've done a job, we go to our client when they are at their absolute happiest, and we say, "Hey, listen, we're so grateful for the opportunity to have worked with you. Hope to do it again. Can you do me a favor?" And this is typically me with my voice, not an email. I'll do an email if I have to, but I'm usually personally asking them. Reviews are so important to our business. If I send you a couple of links, would you just write a review for us? It can just be 2 or 3 lines, but it would really mean a lot to us. And I really think it'll help us get to work for more companies like you. If you've done a great job, if you've hit it out of the park for them, why in the world would they say no? And you don't have to incentivize them. That's the big mistake people make. They're like, "Hey, if you write a review for us, like we'll come shoot 3 hours of B-roll." Like, no, you're going to shoot 3 hours of B-roll for something that's going to take them 5 minutes after you've already delivered tremendous value for them. Like, don't offer them anything. You don't have to. It actually hurts your chances, because then they start thinking, well, why would they have to incentivize me to do that for them? It's a personal ask. And for us, that's always been the way we've done it. On the wedding side, I think, Wedding Wire, not Google, about 500 combined reviews, all 5 stars, because you can be strategic about who you ask. And on the business side, we don't have nearly that many, but we're building it up now, and the strategy is working. And again, if you have 10 Google reviews and they're all great, right, that's better than most companies out there that have 1 or 2. So quality over quantity and personal ask is my advice.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. And when you get those automated ones, there's no connection or really accountability. But when you're speaking to someone and they say, yeah, they're gonna feel on the hook, versus everybody knows when they get the automated email, project's done, okay, yeah, or you're back from the hotel stay or whatever, okay, here comes the email from the hotel, give us it's like whatever. But if the manager called me and said, hey, Mr. Coral, thank you so much for your stay. Did you enjoy your experience? Yeah. Would you mind, can I send you a link and will you fill it? Sure. And so for me, I'm going to feel compelled, and I know that guy's going to be like waiting and wondering, like, Mr. Coral said he hasn't done it yet,
Yeah, do it, Mr. Coral. And then, hopefully when you're done, Mr. Coral, he's going to thank you, which is another thing we always do.
Yeah.
Always say thanks when you're done, because it
so good.
makes them feel good, but more importantly, it shows other people that you're grateful when they're looking at your
Well, Pat, this has been so fun. I just appreciate you. I'll see you later on today during our call with the mastermind. But appreciate you, and I'm excited for your business, all the things that you're doing. How can people connect with you? I know you've got some cool stuff going on. How can they follow along with what you're building?
Yeah, I love community, man. So if anybody has any questions from anything we talked about today or ideas, I certainly still need a whole lot of help, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Pat, Taggart is my last name. My trophies were all spelled wrong with the ERT, but it's ART. And I spend a lot of my time on LinkedIn. So that's the best place to go.
Love it. Any last words here to share with our friends listening in or watching?
Just make sure that you're investing in yourself before you invest in things, because like I said, there's nothing more valuable than this, and this needs to continue to be fed and be stimulated and be inspired. And Mastermind's certainly done that for me, and so I am a believer, man. Thank you for giving us this group and this platform.
Love it. Awesome, my friend. Appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. Friend, thank you so much again for being here. Don't leave just yet. Remember, we've got some really cool stuff going on. The 10X Filmmaker, I'm doing this free workshop. I'm gonna be doing Q&A, coaching calls. So come join this thing. It's totally free. Even if you're not a 10X filmmaker, or if you're not a part of that community, you can go to studiosherpas.com/10X filmmaker. It's the number 10X filmmaker, and sign up for that free workshop, and that will be a good time. And if you like the show, share it. If you don't, let me know what could make it better. Why don't you like it? I know I'm not for everyone, and the things that I talk about, some people don't even care about. So whatever. I have a blast doing this, and I want to bring as much value to you, to your business, to your life as I can. So let me know how I can do that. And you can always email me, Ryan, RYAN, @studiosherpas.com. My friend, have an amazing rest of your week. Again, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me. I do so much appreciate it. And I love hearing from people like you. Yes, you. So don't be a stranger, and I'll talk to you really soon. See ya.